Oh, this? It's called onigiri. It's a kind of food that's easy to carry around. Not that there's any point in eating food for a revenant. Although we may thirst for blood, we never grow hungry. Still, I think that makes eating all the more meaningful for us. We fight. We drink blood. We revive. We fight some more. Our lives are pretty much one endless loop. But every time you go around, you almost forget that we were all human once.
This is Code Vein. I've had my eye on Code Vein since probably a year before its launch, which may seem surprising since I'm barely getting to the game now, considerably late in the game. A lot of the coverage on this game focused on referring to Code Vein as anime souls or Dark Souls, but anime, or waifu souls. This kind of annoyed the crap out of me at first, and it felt very reductionist. After completing the game, okay, yeah, it's kind of anime souls. The thing is, it's kind of equal parts anime and Dark Souls format. The type of players who I think will enjoy this the most are people well acquainted to JRPGs or anime. The game's littered with many kinds of tropes that I became accustomed to while playing the Tales of series through the years. Dark Souls purists with no experience or preference for this type of genre might be off-put by some of the story design. On the other side of the coin, this game is very clearly designed to be more approachable, and I think people who have always been interested in Dark Souls games but were also fearful of the learning curve might be into it. Before I get into the point, let me do a basic story setup. The first 20 minutes of this game has more dialogue than the entirety of Bloodborne, and the story of this game is one area that's atypical of anime, as it's easy to follow and surprisingly isn't totally convoluted. The world has fallen into the Great Collapse. Monsters have taken root all over the world as you spawn as one of many revenants who have been created to fight said monsters. Revenants are immortal. Fuck it, you're a vampire. You feed on human blood, most often found in blood beads. If one is not able to procure enough blood to feed on, a revenant is prone to frenzy, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. Your foes are the lost. In this world, the dead can rise again to fight, so the forces of evil are constantly getting more reinforcements. The lost are also creating what is known as the miasma, forcing you to wear a cool guy mask to prevent you from joining the forces of the lost. You'll find missiles, which act as bonfires, lanterns, or shrines. In the course of this game, you'll encounter a cast of characters which will slowly build into a full crew of super friends. Slowly, as the game progresses, you learn more about the Great Collapse and what caused it, the origins of the Revenants, and the backstory of your main protagonist and the other characters on your team. You have a home base, which serves the same purpose as the Hunter's Dream. It's the main hub area. Amongst your cast of characters, you have Mirasame, who sells you weapons and blood veils, which is the name of the armor in this game. You have Coco, who's your merchant. By doing small side quests for NPCs, they'll give you maps that you can give to Davis, who will unlock the depths, which are similar to Chalice dungeons in Bloodborne. You can use these to farm weapon and skill upgrade materials, amongst other things. Io is the scantily clad woman who joined you at the game's beginning. She has a special skill, other than assorted jiggling. She can utilize vestiges. As a revenant, you're now immortal, but every time you die, you lose some of your memories and become less and less human. As you're traversing the game, you'll encounter these vestiges of someone's past, and Io can interact with them, allowing you to relive the past of the individual. These work as a way to give you backstory for your companions, and they also allow you to unlock skills. These vestiges are a double-edged sword, because I really enjoyed the story contained therein, but also the execution is a bit flawed. You're essentially locked in a walk animation as you let the dialogue play out. It's kind of like a moving diorama. I'd kind of just rather sit and watch a cutscene with the same information than have to slowly trudge in a straight line while the voice line tracks play out. The added interactivity adds nothing to this interaction, and it can kind of become grating, and you'll find many of these vestiges throughout the game if you explore off the beaten path, so you'll be doing a lot of it. Now it's time for me to come clean. I did not really understand a lot of the gameplay systems for much of the game, and I kind of brute force the combat. If I can help one person understand these systems a little bit better, I'd feel accomplished. Firstly, your attacks. You got the typical quick strike, heavy strike, block, parry, and drain attack. Your parry animation will directly correlate to the type of blood veil you equip. You should play around with different veils to see what kinds of parries you want to do, as it actually changes the timing of the parry as well. Let's talk UI. In combat, you have 3 gauges. First is the stamina bar, which any Souls veteran will understand. The second is your Ichor. Ichor is similar to skill points or magic points. Your skills require Ichor to use. You gain Ichor from backstabs, parries, and drain attacks. Some of these skills that utilize Ichor can be chained at the end of your combos to great effect, since you use up the Ichor and not your stamina to use those skills. If you reach the end of your stamina bar, remember you can always use one of these skills requiring Ichor. The last gauge is the focus gauge, pictured above the stamina bar. I did not understand this for most of the game, but it fills by either perfect dodging or by taking damage. It can make you more resistant to stagger, replenish your stamina, or make enemies more easy to stagger. There are many skills that interact with being focused as well. One thing to be wary of is that enemies also have a focus gauge and can get a special blue aura. In this state, they can unleash a special attack. What about builds? This is my favorite thing about this game. You never have to allocate stats when you level. How you change your build is by changing your gear and your blood code. Blood codes can be unlocked by finding vestiges or by being given them by companions or NPCs. Usually, you unlock the skills by using Haze, which is your Souls type currency from killing enemies, and then you can equip them. By using them in battle, you can max out the proficiency with the skill to enable use of them while using another blood code. Ideally, you should get a new blood code, equip gear that makes sense of that blood code, then use the skills to master the proficiencies with it, and then move on to another code, so by the end game you have a laundry list of skills that you can use with any blood code that you decide you want to settle with. There are farmable materials that you can use to max out the proficiency of a skill without ever having to equip the blood code, but they're not super common, so use your discretion as to which skills you want to use these on. If you're running a blood code already, just max the skill, and don't waste these expendable resources on them. A lot of the early game blood codes have base stats that are very unappealing, but they had skills that I used till the very end of the game. What I appreciate about the system is that you're not hard locked into a build. You can't screw yourself over with bad stats you can't take back. If something you're trying doesn't work, then switch out your stuff and try again. Another thing that's nice is that there are a ton of upgrade materials around to fix up your gear. You have plenty of room to try out different weapons and find a playstyle that works for you. By the end of the game, I had 6 maxed out weapons and 3 max blood veils. In Bloodborne, there were 2 blood rocks if you include the DLC in the first playthrough. The scarcity of the upgrade materials deterred me from trying out different weapons that made me stick to the same kind of stuff the whole run. If you're a purist who likes to do 7 playthroughs with different playstyle each time and finds that a rewarding system, then I'm happy for you. But for me, it feels restricting. It's especially restricting for me when it comes to Bloodborne because the systems can be very cryptic at first glance. Code Vein has all the information at your fingertips if you want to read and tutorialize yourself as you go. I have only myself to blame for not learning what I was doing as I was moving through the game. Along with the active skills of each blood code, they also have passive skills. You can have 4 passives equipped at any given time, and you can use this to improve your carry limit with a class with low weight, or you can buff strength on a build that already has high strength, cover for your weaknesses, or boost your strengths. The flexibility is really freeing. Again, master those skills, you can stack these boons from different blood codes to massive effect. Now, for the blood veils. Along with changing your drain attacks and parries, they are also your armor. In short, they'll impact your defense and offense. Some offer great defense at the expense of weight and mobility, others are light and do heavy drain damage while offering little protection. They can help your gifts, which are your skills in this game, and there are light and dark gifts, and so some will be better than others. All these systems add something that really gives a different feel from most of the other games in this genre that I've played. One of the other gameplay changes it has is this game has a map. At first I didn't know how to feel about it because exploration is part of the main appeal of these games to me. Thank God for this map. I feel at times the devs were teasing me with some of the level design here. I am positive that the cathedral area has become nightmare fuel for many Code Vein players. The entirety of this map is so monotone. Every area is a template that looks so similar to the last area you were in. Even utilizing a map that shows your footprints so you know which areas you've been in, I was terribly lost. All in all, though, the areas were well detailed and interesting to explore. Again, my expertise in many JRPGs over the years has led me to be reminded of how these dungeons are often created. Many of these maps feel like a series of tile sets and such. Some areas feel less inspired design-wise. The assortment of enemies, the overall art style, and the fact that the game ran like a dream kept me from getting tired of exploration at any point, but the design is definitely less awe-inspiring than some other games in the genre, to be sure. Throughout your travels, you'll recruit different companions, and one will fight by your side at all times. If you fall in battle, they can sacrifice some of their health to pick you back up, although this is on a cooldown. And should they fall, you can do the same for them. This can ease some of the difficulty of the game, but honestly, I felt many of the bosses were still plenty challenging, even with the help. Especially the dex builds, you can be punished in short succession, and they can put you in the dirt quickly. If you're the hardcore gamer type, you can forego this luxury, but I did this only for a short while in the middle of the game. I kind of ended up missing having the companions for reasons separate from the combat. They'll point out places of interest, spot enemies and items, and even complement your med gamer moves. Another change for many of the games in this genre is that the entirety of the game can be completed in co-op. I played this in single player mode, but your friend can be your co-op partner, and you're able to run through the whole game from start to finish together. Bloodborne was set up so poorly for this. One of the two players had to have already run an area to join another friend in an area, so like running chalice dungeons with my friend was a drag because he'd have to complete an area, then join me to do it again after he'd just done it. Because of this, I did not do a lot of co-op in Bloodborne. If you have a friend into these games, I can imagine this enhancing the fun factor by a large margin, so try that out. Let's talk about the character creator. If you're the type to spend hours creating your character, then this game is for you. The options are insane. You can change individual pupil shapes and colors for crying out loud. I made a Vampire Huntress D, and she was very good looking. I was pleased with my results. I later gave her a haircut because her hair was clipping through a blood veil I equipped late game, but yeah, she was looking good. It's as easy as walking up to a mirror in your base and changing your image at any time if you feel like you need a change. It's excellent and frankly puts a lot of character creators to shame. Overall, I find this game's pretty easy to recommend. The combat was fun and engaging, the story was simple and straightforward but good, and the build system was great and fun to mess around with. Obviously, if you're so inclined to hate anime aesthetics and tropes, then stay away from this. It does have the "we're stronger with the power of friendship" type crap that's kind of infamous in a lot of Japanese media, and that's cheesy, but I also kind of find it endearing, so it works for me. If you think it doesn't seem hardcore enough for you as you're a Souls veteran and you're looking at this game with a speculative eye, then try doing a run with no companion at your side. The difficulty is very tunable to your liking. I think although it's not insanely challenging with a companion, I can imagine without one, it would still be very challenging. The people I would recommend this to most fervently are the people who find the art style appealing like myself, and others who have always been interested in the Souls-like genre, but have been intimidated by the learning curve. This would be a great stepping off point for you. Thanks again. Have a nice day.